All right. So Jurrell Casey just got released from the Denver Broncos. So now he's a former Denver Bronco. Last offseason, he was traded from the Titans for a late round pick to the Broncos. He played 3 games, got injured. He's cut this week. Do you think the Packers should go after Jurrell Casey?
Well, Jurrell Casey, he was a great Titan. 5-time Pro Bowler. I think he's been in the league for about 10 years now. And yeah, I do think the Packers should go after him, and I think it'd be stupid not to. He's a good run defender, he's a good pass rusher, and he's very explosive, which is what I like most about him. He gets off the line. So it would be really helpful for Kenny Clark if we had Jurrell Casey up there on the line.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you on that. So we've talked about J.J. Watt previously, but I actually think Jurrell Casey makes a lot more sense, is more realistic, and would overall be a better signing than J.J. Watt. So like you mentioned, good run defender. The dude's huge, right? So he's a 3-4 defensive end. He's a 3 technique over the B gap. So he's massive first off. That would help tremendously with the run game. Him and Clark, and then next to whoever else would be. So whether that's, Lancaster, Lowry, Kingsley Keke, those 3 I think that would add more size to our team because we're a little undersized in the trenches, I would say, right?
Yeah.
And so that would just be the run defense aspect. And then for the pass rushing aspect, it would be huge. So, like I said, he only played 3 games last year, but in the previous seasons with the Titans, so starting, I can just start with 2017, he had 6 sacks then. Next year, 7 sacks. Then 2019, he had 5 sacks. And that's not like eye-popping with what you see with like Aaron Donald or, prime J.J. Watt or an edge rusher or anything. But that's really good for a 3-4 defensive end. And he definitely would provide that. I know in the few games he played this year for the Broncos, they didn't have Von Miller. It was him and Bradley Chubb as like the main 2 best pass rushers. And he did a good job at getting pressures. And he was still good in the run game. I think he'd be a great just rotational piece, maybe come in on first and second down. Always sub out too. What type of a contract do you think the Packers should sign him to if they were to do it?
Well, like you said, I think he's better than I think he's better. I think he's better than J.J. Watt too, just like you said. J.J. Watt, I think he'd be better.
Okay.
Because he's relatively cheap. He would not be too expensive. We could get him to a cheap deal, maybe 1 or 2 years most. No more than 2 years. I'm thinking probably 1 year though, because this goes with our win now that we were talking about in different videos, where the Packers need to win now. And bring in Jurrell Casey, he's pretty reliable. He got injured last season, but I mean, as long as he's healthy.
For the most part, he's not like a super injury-prone player. I mean, going back to his first year, he's only played under 14 games once, and that was the last year where he suffered, an abnormal injury. He's not like J.J. Watt is, you could say, injury-prone, whatever that term means. It's hard to define, but Jurrell Casey's the opposite of that. He's always available.
Yeah, so exactly. Jurrell Casey is much more reliable than J.J. Watt would be, and I just don't want to pay a lot of money for J.J. Watt, and then he doesn't give me a full season, and he's not there when it matters the most in the postseason, which is what we mostly need him for. We can get to the postseason without J.J. Watt or Jurrell Casey. We need someone there to help us get through the postseason. I think Jurrell Casey could be that guy. Jurrell Casey could be that guy.
I'm with you. And I think the pass rush aspect is what's most exciting when I think about him coming. So Lancaster doesn't provide much for pass rushing. I'd say he's more of a run stuffer. Lowry's not that great of a pass rusher either. I'd say the best of those guys, or the guy who flashed the most, was Kingsley Keke. So he's going into his 3rd year, and he's more of a rotational guy than anything.
He's still growing.
Exactly, yeah. Like if he came in like for 10, 15 snaps a game, that'd be totally fine. That'd be a solid role for him. If more, you're not completely worried or anything. But having him and another pass rusher on this D-line would be massive. I mean, think of the front 4, 3rd and long of Za'Darius, Kenny Clark, Jurrell Casey, and then Gary, or if they still have Preston Smith. That would be a really, really, really strong pass rush.
It'd be scary.
Yeah.
It'd be scary.
Because as of now, they kind of, or what they did last year was they would they would go with the three edge guys they had, and they
Yep.
would just have Preston instead of another like bigger guy.
Mm-hmm.
And usually just bring Za'Darius inside because Za'Darius can, he can blitz from pretty much anywhere, whether that's in the middle, edge or over the guard. But I think, Casey would add just another aspect of really, really, really good pass rush for the Packers that would help everyone out, especially the corners, the nickel guy, and he would push the pocket back, which is huge.
Yeah, so also Zadarius Smith, we know what we have there. He's had a great last 2 seasons. I see no reason he's going to slow down. We know what we have we don't know, but Rashawn Gary, he was kind of disappointing. He was disappointing 2 years ago, but this year I liked him a lot, and I just see him getting better. I don't see him declining. Kenny Clark, run stuffer, very good, and Jurrell Casey. So he'll be rushing the quarterback with Rashawn Gary and Zadarius Smith. That's 3 great pass rushers, and then Kenny Clark, really good at stopping the run. He's finally going to have some help.
He's a pretty good pass rusher too in his own right. Like he's not, he's not Aaron Donald, but for a nose tackle, he's a pretty solid pass rusher.
He is.
Give him that.
But Jurrell Casey and Kenny Clark stopping the run, that's what I'd be very excited to see because we're not going to let Dalvin Cook get 200 yards on us. And it's hard to watch that.
Yeah. And no, he's a massive dude, right? I mean, you see him and he moves really well though for how big he is.
That's what I was saying earlier. He's very explosive. Very explosive.
Yeah, he really is. And then for contracts wise, I'm with you. So he's 31 years old right now.
Yep.
And I think him coming off a major injury should help theoretically with like not being paid as much. Usually after you suffer a big injury, like teams aren't like, oh, I really want to get him now because you're kind of an unknown. But we've seen players come back from injuries more and more now with, advanced medicine and all that. I think he'll come back. He's a really good, professional athlete, obviously. And so for contracts wise, I'm with you on the 1 to 2 years. I think he would kind of fit along with the Aaron Rodgers timeline of win now. I know you mentioned it, but win now, he would be one of those players. And maybe they don't give him a ton of guaranteed money. Maybe it's like a 2-year, $15 million type of deal. And it's like $10 million in the first year or $5 million in the first year, but like the second year is maybe not guaranteed. So we're not on the hook in case, he either regresses, slows down, or, gets injured again.
Another thing that'll help with his price is you said his injury, which will obviously bring his price down, but also the salary cap going down this year because of COVID and there weren't fans. So that'll also bring the price down a little bit. Which I think we need to talk about that too.
Definitely. And I think that goes for most free agents. I think we've talked about this where I think most players will probably seek a 1-year deal, and then when the revenue jumps for the NFL next year, salary cap's increased, we'll get a bigger payday.
If it's a 1-year deal, I have Jurrell Casey around about $8 million. You said 2-year, $15 million. If it's 2 years, I could see him doing what you said, not the same price each year, a little less the second year, or not guaranteed. But if we do get him to a 1-year deal, I'd say around $8 million.
I like that, and I really think he is the best option. As I'd rather have him for his price than J.J. Watt, just because I know what he's bringing to the table. J.J. Watt could go back to being a double-digit sack guy, or he can go back to being injured. And
it doesn't. If J.J. Watt gets double-digit sacks but isn't there in the postseason, it doesn't matter to me because that's when we need him. We need them at the end. We need them in January and February.
Yep, and we've seen Jurrell Casey in the playoffs too.
Yeah,
he has played really, really well.
He steps it up. He's not tired from the season. He knows how to step it up.
The Patriots, it was 2019, I believe.
It was 2 seasons ago.
Ravens
in the first round.
Yeah, against the Patriots and Ravens, dominated both games.
He did.
I really like Jurrell Casey. Hopefully the Packers, Gutekunst, please make this happen. He would really help us out in the playoffs, fill a need so we wouldn't have to draft it high. And he would just be an overall amazing signing. So we need to look into getting Jurrell Casey. And
just one last thing is we're not saying we don't want J.J. Watt. We're just saying Jurrell Casey is a better fit. We definitely accept J.J. Watt. He's a great player. We're just saying that we think Jurrell Casey is a better fit for the Green Bay Packers at this moment.
Exactly.